Okay, cool. So today I will show another demo of this lighting animation shot from one of your seniors again. So basically it's a full body animation and then in the office setting. So now as usual we'll look for reference in the internet that what kind of mood that I want to work on. I already had this thoughts that I want to do a nighttime scene and then probably the colors I want to go a bit green with warm that kind of setting, something like that. But this feels too bright for my taste. I like to go a bit darker, so and then it has the lamp. So this sorts of um yeah, maybe something along this range. Okay, so I get a rough idea on what kind of lighting colors and direction that I want. So now I do have my shot. So like what I do last week normally, I'll just do a screenshot and then I bring into Photoshop, um, desaturated all the colors so that we can clearly see what are our lights colors doing on our characters and all. Okay, so first I would like to have my moonlight that comes in from the window. Okay, so and that moonlight will possibly just rim my character like that. Okay, so that I have my key there. Okay, and then the moonlight probably will hit a bit of the table just to give a bit of shaping. Then the next light source potentially will be my lamp. Okay, so that will eventually gives me a bit of lighting on the table and possibly maybe a bit of bounce onto the face. Yeah, and then lastly, it looks like there's another light source that we can use, which is the computer here that can act as a fuel light or something, or create something interesting later on if we want onto our background or a bit onto our character's face. Then yeah, I think these are the main light source that we can work around with. And then along the way, then we see what else we can incorporate to make the shot looks better. Okay, so with that in mind, I'll just choose a frame that I want to like to. So maybe I'll choose a frame where you read her pose stronger. Okay, maybe something like that. Okay, we will start with an environment light. So as usual, we create a sky dome. Always remember to rename your lights and create uh, an AOV for it. So this will be my ENV and go to my render settings and then create that um, RGBA underscore ENV. Create the AOV. Okay, then okay, put it into my light group and start rendering. Okay, so this gives me a generic ambient to work with, but it's too bright for my taste and it's too bright for night scene. So probably I want to take down maybe 1.5 stops, or yeah, maybe let's try 1.5 stops first. So go to the lights, go to exposure, minus 1.5. Maybe I'll tint the color just very slightly to a cooler tone. Okay, not too bad. Cool. So now we have a ambient light to work with. So that will be our ambient. Then we want to create our first light source, which will be the moon. Okay, before that, always remember to go into your environment light and turn off the visibility for your camera. If not, you see your alpha of the windows, it gets rendered um, that you don't want from the environment light. Okay, so that's environment. Okay, so now create our key light, which will be our moonlight. So I will use an area light. So this will be my moonlight. Okay, put into my light group. Okay, create an AOV for it. So moon, render settings, GPA underscore moon. Okay, so got my moonlight. Okay, make it bigger. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to look through the light and then frame to one of the. Okay, Okay, so I will angle it something like from the moon, and then from this angle probably it will catch a bit of the face and rim a bit on the hand. Okay. Okay, so we'll go to the Moonlight. Make sure you give a bit of exposure to it. So let's just try 10 first. And then let me just tint it a bit bluish as well. Okay, we'll go to the Moonlight. So it's not doing anything. So probably okay. So before I increase exposure, probably the spread is too much. I just reduce the spread. Still nothing. Okay, I will start increasing the exposure then. Okay, so it gives me a bit of shipping onto the character, exactly what we imagine. A bit of rim light onto the characters, a bit of shaping on the face. Looks pretty cool. Okay, and since it's a night time, I would imagine I would want to have some of the volumes that comes through from this moonlight, and then just to enhance the shot a bit more. So I will go to my render settings, go to unknown renderer under environment, add in the AI atmosphere volume. Okay. Okay, just make sure you give it a bit of density. So let's try 0.01. Okay, nothing happens. Okay, let me just double check my moonlight, make sure the volume is on. Okay. Um, okay. Let me just double check. Let me just turn on the density to 1. Still nothing. Color attenuation. Oh, wait. Is it? Yeah, I am in the AOVs. Okay, cool. So 0.01. Render again. Okay. So now we get a bit of the volume that comes into the scene. Okay, let me just double check what exactly the moonlight is doing. Yeah, okay. I think it's a bit too bright. Let me just okay. So first I will go into my ENV. Just make sure that my ENV is not contributing anything to the volume first. Okay, let it resolve a bit. Okay. Doesn't look too bad, but I probably want a tighter volume so that it does not hit all the way to my wall behind. Probably I want to angle it slightly off, reduce the spread a bit more. Okay, so now we feel all the negative rays in the scene, which is nice, but of course the volume is too bright. So now we'll reduce my exposure. Okay, probably still a touch bright, slightly lower. Now it's too dark. Let's try 12.5. Let me just okay. Then okay, so the next light source will be the lamp. Okay, so just create a spotlight, easier to control. Okay, bring it up, make it bigger. Okay, put it in the lamp. Okay, something like that. Okay, then we want to give a color to it. So just go to Arno. Maybe I'll just use a color temperature to get the color. The exposure, let's just try 10 as a default. Give it an AOV. So this will be my lamp. Reading my lights. Lamp. Okay. Put it into the light group. Create an AOV. Okay, and then render. Okay, nothing. Let's go to my lamp. Nothing. Okay, so I will the exposure thing. Go to my exposure. Okay, let's just try a 20. So nothing. Okay. So when I see values like that, it probably telling me that my light is doing something funny. And my guess is the geometry is blocking the light um that to come out. So how I can check that is maybe I move my light source down a bit and I test render. Oh, still broken. Okay, let me just do a quick check. I will just select my light bulb. Okay, I will hide this geometry. See if it renders. Okay, so it renders and it's just the render is clipping now. So let me just go to my light source again, change back the exposure. Okay, so the light is there, and previously it's just the bulb that is blocking it. Okay, so what we can do is we enable the bulb, try render again. Okay, so what we can do is we can use the bulb geometry, select the bulb geometry, go to Windows. Let me see. Relationship editor, light linking, and object centric. Okay, so now we have this bulb selected, right? So let me just open all the way. So I have, come on, bulb room A1 attribute 2, which is this one. Okay, and I want my light source to not affect it. So I will just, okay, so by default everything will be selected. So I'll just remove the lamp from it. So just test render again. Okay, so now technically the geometry is there, just that my light is not affecting it. Okay, so it renders fine, and now I can just shift this cone back to where I want it to be. Okay, test render. Okay, probably a touch too saturated. I can reduce the saturation, and I probably want a bit of fall off and softness to it. So I can go to the cone angle. I can increase it a little bit, bring it down a little bit. Okay, and the cone is still too high. I probably lower it, and I want to soften it so I can increase the penumbra angle, and I can increase a bit of fall off, say 0.5. Okay, so now it has a bit of definition in the volume. Okay, okay, so say something like that, and probably let me just increase the saturation a bit just to exaggerate the lamp. Okay. Okay, I'll just let it resolve a bit and then take a screenshot. Okay, something like that. Okay, so now we have our second light source done. Then so what we want now is we want to read the character face a bit more, and then we want to read the her pose a bit more. But having just the moonlight from outside, you probably cannot get it because of all these blinds that is blocking your light source. So with this window at the side, we can safely create another key light from inside the house and pretend that it's coming from the moon. So I will just name this my key light. Okay, can make it slightly bigger, give it an AOV, render settings, GPA underscore key. Okay, so same thing, I'll look through that selected light. Okay, just select the face, frame it, and then just put it somewhere where roughly the moon is from your scene. So just to get a bit more shaping onto the face. Okay, then of course don't forget to give it some exposure. So let's just try 8 first. Then just tint it blue like my moonlight. Okay, just double check my key. Okay, it's doing something. Let's increase exposure. Cool. So now it's hitting the face. It gives a bit more nice, more shaping to the face, but it's hitting my background a bit. I don't want it to go so far, so I probably will reduce the spread. Okay, once you reduce your spread, your light will become very bright. Will become brighter basically. So when we reduce our spread, we want to compensate it with a lower exposure. So try 8 now. Okay, so now it gives a nice shaping and it gives some interest onto all the set dressing that we have in the set. Okay, so now with the key light and without the key light. Okay, a bit more shaping onto the character, which is good. Okay, so now, okay, so the third light source that we talk about is later we will just rebalance the lights to make the whole image looks better. Now we will just add in the stuff first. And okay, I forgot. So this key light, I just want it to contribute to the shaping. I don't want it to be messing up with my volumes. So I will remove the volume from this key light. Let's render again. Okay. Yep. Yeah, you see, once you remove the volume contribution, it's better. It's not like blasting the whole scene with atmospheric. Okay, so it's better. We'll take a screenshot. Okay, so next we want to put in the next like source that is in the scene, which is the monitor or the laptop. So we same thing. We'll create area light. Okay, so this will be my screen. Okay, put into the light group. Create an AOV. Okay, and then just move the light to where the screen is. Okay, something like that. Okay, just move it back so that it's directly in front of the screen. Okay, cool. And okay, AOV is done. Okay, make sure we give it some exposure. So let's just try 10 first. And okay, because this scene is all green, the backdrop, the wall is all green, and our colors is all cool tones. Let's try something different to see if we can give a bit more interest into our scene. So let's just try. Probably when she's so frustrated, we can maybe um go with a slightly uh redder tone to just give that to enhance that mood, or maybe something pink. Oh, okay, let me just try something like that. Okay. Okay, so now you see that it does add some interest into our shot, and then it does breaks up the monotone that we have in our scene, just that it's too saturated and bright now. So what we can do, we can reduce the saturation. Then maybe you can reduce the exposure. But before I reduce the exposure, I want to reduce the spread as well. I don't want the screen to give such a wide spread to the volumes. So reduce the spread. And then maybe I'll take down exposure to 7. And give it a test render. Cool. So now it does gives a bit of interest, like what she's looking into the scene, into the monitor. And then it gives a nice different color onto her, and it gives another colors in the background. So which is good, but we don't want this screen to compete with our lamp light. So what I will do is let me just take a screenshot of this first. Okay, I will reduce the volume contribution, maybe say 0.65. Then do a test render. Okay, so it becomes lesser. Maybe can go even lesser, like say 0.4. Okay, so we feel it, but it's not so dominant. And now the pink light is messing up with the shaping that we previously had on our characters. We want to keep the light there, but we don't want it to be so dominant. But we still want to keep the light that is on the background. So what we can do is okay, personal taste. I will increase a bit more of the saturation, so it feels more interesting. Then what we can do is we will add a light filter, add a blocker. Okay, So in this blocker, just go to your scene, select the transform. Okay, so this blocker basically means I will use this blocker to mitigate some of the lights that is hitting my character. So I will block where the character is. Okay, and I will increase the density, say I want to block half of that light, so 0.5. So now if I were to screenshot, then render again. So it's dimmer, but it's not dim enough to my taste. I probably want to block a bit more, so 0.75. Okay, maybe something like that. Okay, we still feel it just a bit and it's not messing up with the shaping that we had on our character. Cool. So now these are the basic light source that we already planned out beforehand, and it looks like it's giving me some nice mood to the scene. But what else can we do to go further than this? Okay, so say I want to add a rim here onto the character to separate her from the background a bit more, and we cannot fake a light source from the back because it will be very artificial if we just add a rim here and there's no motivation to the light source. So what I can think of at the moment with this setting is okay, I will create a fake so imagine there's a door in front here and the door is partially open and there's a light that leaks in that hits the wall behind her. Okay, so let's just try that first, see if it works. So I'll create area light, so this will be my door light. Okay, then I'll create an AOV, a door. Then of course go into the light. Okay, increase the exposure. Let's just try a 10 first. Then okay, we want to soften the edge so that it does not give us a very harsh light. And then okay, I'll move out my lights, make it bigger. Okay, maybe I just make it something like that to pretend like it's a door shape. Okay, then it's maybe just a bit smaller as well, angled a bit. Okay, so basically I want this light to hit probably um, the back of her, the back wall, and then I can use that as a motivation to drive a rim behind her. So let's try this. Okay, create an AOV for that door light as well. Okay, to test render. Okay, so remember to turn off the volume if you don't want this light to be affected. Okay, go to that AOV. Okay, so it's hitting the character instead of the background, which is not what we want. So first, let's reduce the spread as well, and let's rotate. Let's look through this selected light and then rotate it a bit more to the left, so it hits the wall. Okay, cool. Then we want to reduce the spread further so it does not hit the character. Okay, so say something like that. But the light source is very big. It does not feels like a door that's open, and then so I will just make the light source slightly smaller. See what it gives us. Okay, rotate inwards a bit more. Too much. Okay, then okay, we can probably reduce the spread even a bit further, soften the edge, and maybe we want to round a bit of that light. Okay, just try. Still feels very circlish. Doesn't look nice, so I will make the light a bit longer. Okay, not bad. I'll angle down a little bit. Okay, maybe too much. Okay, not too bad. Let me just make it slightly thinner as well, and I probably want to reduce the roundness that it's giving onto my light. Okay, reduce a bit of the softening. Okay, probably the light source is too big now. Okay, so basically it's just creatively faking motivation behind your character. So now it's probably hitting too much on Okay, probably I can reduce my spread even further to see what it gives us. Okay, not too bad. Okay, okay, say something like that, and I want let's try a bit of softening. Okay, exposure wise is too bright definitely, so maybe 8. Then I want it to be a slightly bigger. No, can be bigger. Okay, not bad. Maybe a bit bigger and angled down just slightly, so it hits the floor as well. Okay, maybe something like that. So it serves like a half open door which light leaks in to the scene. If I view the full image, cool. Okay, thus adds a nice touch of details into the scene. And then now we can use this light source here to pretend that, oh no, because the light hits the wall and it bounces back a bit onto the character. So then now we can add a rim light onto a character. So I can just technically just duplicate this door light and change the naming to a rim. Of course, you rename your AOV. Then go to render settings, create a new AOV for it. Okay, so this rim light, we want to reshape. Of course, we don't want this round shape, and then slightly smaller. Look through the light, select a character, and angle it back onto her, something like that. Okay, then okay, test render. Cool. Then now if we look through the AOV, the rim, it does give a bit more, but I don't want it to hit so much on the hand. Actually, I want it to hit the back of her just subtly. This is definitely too bright for my taste, so we will reduce it. Probably just a very subtle bounce that we can just separate her out from the background. So maybe a 2.5 stops reduction. So go to the rim light, go to exposure. So minus 2.5, so that will be 6.5. Okay, render again. Okay, still resolving. Yep, probably it's still a little bit too bright. It feels like it's a bright light source behind. Maybe just put it to 5. Okay, I just want it to feel like a subtle bounce that helps to separate her from the background now. So okay, maybe this value it's okay. Of course, you guys can rebalance it however you want to the scene to make it feel better. Still feels a touch bright as well. Okay, let's just try for exposure. Okay, instead of keep rendering, I will just take a screenshot here, and I'll move on first, and then later we'll rebalance everything once we um finalize our lighting. Okay, so now we have this rim light. Okay, then the last thing that I want to add on is you see that probably because we can't see the whole shot, we can imagine that there's the window is extended further, and then that will leak some lights in, and it can give a bit more shaping to the table and also some of these props at the bottom. So I will add another area light, and we'll call this the kick light. Then we'll put it into the group. Okay, so now this will be our kick. Create a AOV for it. GPA, it's called kick. Okay, we just give it a exposure value. Just try a 10 first. Give it a cool light. Then look through this light. Oh wait, before that, just make sure your light size is correct. If your light size is really small, it will just give you a very harsh shadows and it will not look natural in a night scene. Okay, so something big. Then look through the light. Then we want to position it somewhere here so that it gives a bit of the shaping onto our dustbin and the table. And of course, all the legs on the table will get a bit of more shaping. Okay, maybe something like that. Let's try it. Okay, again, remove the volume. So the thing about having the volumes in your main pass is you always have to make sure that all the lights that you don't want to contribute to the volume has to be turned off. And yeah, sometimes you'll just forget, and all the the volumes will just stack up, and you'll end up with a very hazy environment, which you don't want. Okay, so turn off that. Okay, probably I want to reduce the spread just a little bit as well. Okay, go to the kick AOV. Okay, render is too dark. Okay, if I expose up, oh, I do see some nice shaping that it gives onto my set and the table. So probably try a 2 stops exposure up, so 12. No, I haven't pressed enter. Okay, so 12. Then probably I want the spread to be lower. I don't want it to hit the face anymore or the back of the board. So I'll just reduce the spread. Now it will become really bright. Come on, if I reduce like that. Okay, so that's something. Of course, too bright, so we'll reduce the exposure down by 5, maybe 4.5, so 7.5. Okay, so it does give a bit of shaping onto the tables and the dustbin that we want. So now if I save this and we preview this and the previous, you see that it does adds a bit more interest. But this now feels very artificial when the legs get brightened up like that, right? So it feels like there's a light source here, which we don't want it. We just want to feel a bit more shaping onto the dustbin and the tables. Okay, so first what we'll do is we'll reduce the exposure slightly. So pause this. So 7. And then what we want is, okay, since we are happy with the shaping that it gives onto our props, so now we can select the light. Okay, again we'll just add a blocker, and we want to block whatever is behind from the bin onwards. Come on. Okay, so just make it smaller so we can see where is it. Okay, okay, something like that. Okay, forward a little bit. Okay, and of course we want to make it bigger, and of course give it a bit of softening, so we don't want a harsh cut off later that we feel on the blocker. Okay, so now we want to block maybe 90% of the light, so 0.9. So render again. Okay, so now this and this. So now you see that I accidentally blocked my bin as well. So let me just wireframe. Come on, swap. Nope. Hi. Okay, so we want to remove it a bit backwards, and maybe just that. Just now we reduce the exposure of our light, so we can just increase back slightly. Hey, come on. Don't want the wireframe. This one. Okay. Increase back the exposure, so probably 0.25. Okay. Let it resolve a bit longer. So now it does not hit the leak, and we still maintain some of the shaping on that dustbin. Nice. Okay, so from key light, lamp, what is this? The screen, then a fake door that opens up to give a bit of the rim, and then now a bit of the shaping on the dustbin. Cool. And then I think at this point probably I'm pretty satisfied with the lighting. Probably this light that hits the chair is a bit bright, which is tied into the door. So now I will rebalance it, probably I'll reduce half a stop. And then I want to fill my key light a bit more, just so that the range is wider. So the key fill ratio feels like it has a better definition, so 8.5. Okay, so just resolve again. This touch still feels like the 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 volume is very thick. So I'll go to my lamp light. Okay, just reduce my volume contribution. Okay, so yeah, I mean personal taste. It's all you guys can increase however much that you want, that you think it suits your taste. I just don't like that very prominent look of that volume, so I just reduce it. Cool. I think this is pretty much what I will do for the quick demo on my scene. I get a nice shaping on the character. It has a nice rim. I get a nice read on all my props with nice shapings, and then I also managed to give a bit more interest into my scene by introducing a fake light that has a story behind it, and it's not just a fake light there. So maybe I can increase this light source just a bit taller, so it feels more like a door. Yeah, I think it looks better. Yeah, that also can justify that bounce back onto the back of the character a bit more. So yeah, I think this is what I will do for a scene like that in a quick 30 minutes demo. And then the last thing, as usual, we will try to, I mean, since everything is in one, I'll just pick the depth of field into the camera. So I'll go to my camera. Make sure you go to the Arnold tab, enable depth of field. Okay, so now we'll look through our camera and find the the distance between the camera to this geometry. So it's 43.374. So go to the focal distance, 43.374. Okay, aperture size, we'll just let's just try 1, and then the blade, I don't mind just leaving it at 6. Okay, so now we already get the defocus, but it feels too defocus. Okay, so we can play with the aperture size. We can reduce it to 0.5. Okay, we zoom in on this out focus, and we have the focus on the face. Yeah, I think pretty nice look that we have achieved here. Probably is still a touch too defocus for this. So I mean for personal taste. So I'll just reduce a bit more, so 0.4 maybe. Okay. We want it to be defocused but not too blurry, like that it makes it looks like a miniature. Okay, I think that works for me. Probably I can, of course, refine a lot more if we can spend a bit more time, get a bit more definition here and there. But I think this is probably what I will settle for this demo. And yeah, I'll just let it resolve a bit more so we get a good look at how it looks um, with this lighting. Thank you. Oh, so if this content is helpful to you, don't forget to like and subscribe to the video or the channel. Thank you very much.